3, 2, 1. And we're live. I think.
Hey,
Hopefully.
you think?
I don't know. Okay, yeah, we're live.
Daddy, you gotta
We're
you
good.
gotta go bold. Just give a big intro as if we are live. There you go.
We are live.
And then if we're not, then that's fine. Okay, good. All right.
Nice.
Hey everyone, how are you doing? Welcome to the award show audit. I'm PIEGUYRULZ.
And I'm Shadow Streak, because that's my
There's also
name.
someone else. Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
Very
I'm
good,
here.
Shadow. Very good.
That's me.
All right. As usual, everyone let us know if our audio sounds good, and then we'll start the show momentarily.
Yep. Yep. Let's see.
All right.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm waiting for my connection to stabilize, because it's always a little rough at the beginning.
Yeah, we're just having a little bit of technical difficulties. Everyone just bear with us, please.
Yep. Alright.
All right. The poll is now live, by the way. Sorry, it wasn't ready to go, but it is now. If you click down in the description, should take you over to the community page, community tab, where you can vote on the episodes for the 2015 half hour or more animated Emmy. Which one you think is more deserving of it, and whichever one wins will win the award show audit award at the end.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Make
So
sure you do
vote.
that.
All right, we should be good. It's looking like it's starting to stabilize now, so we can get the show on the road.
All right, good. How you doing this week, Shadow?
Pretty good. It's been a busy week at work, but for the most part, I've just kind of been, cruising through it.
Nice.
How about you?
It's been a week. I'm in a different room. I don't know if anyone can hear. The acoustics might be a little bit different. Just had some not so great things happen to my office this past week. But it's gonna be okay. How is everyone in the chat doing today?
Yes, hopefully you've all been.
I put South Park on the poll twice. Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Oh no. All right, let me redo this poll real quick. Sorry, everyone. What? I left off Bob's Burgers. Does anyone care?
No. I don't.
No, someone cares. Someone cares. I'll fix it.
So, I'm not going to say anything, really, but I have a sinking suspicion that this poll is going to be heavily in favor of one nominee over everything else. Just a suspicion,
well, I mean, just wait. Don't give away the show.
I'm not giving away the show. I'm just speaking in vague terms.
You're trying to give away the show. You can announce the nominees anytime you're ready, buddy.
I mean, like, I don't know. As soon as I do announce them, it's a dead giveaway, but okay. All right, we can go ahead and get started.
Why even stick around? Just leave now, guys. It's fine.
Because
it's fine. Shadow just gave the whole show.
Maybe they want to hear us talk about Bob's Burgers. Maybe they do. That's kind of like, a running gag. I don't know.
Are you going to announce the nominees?
I am. Sometimes
people are
going to
think
that
I'm like
out.
Oh my god.
See, Nathaniel Foga deeply cares for Bob's Burgers. That's all I'm saying. Some people out there care. All right, the 2015 nominees. We're talking about 2015. These are these were eligible from June 2014 to May 2015, just as a refresher. The 5 nominees for this week are as follows. Bob's Burgers, What a Surprise, with Can't Buy Me Math. We've got Archer, again, with Pocket Listing. We've got Over the Garden Wall. Not just one episode, but the entire miniseries was nominated. There is South Park with Freemium Isn't Free.
Oh, okay.
And last but not least, you're never going to believe this, The Simpsons, Treehouse of Horror 25.
Wow, The Simpsons got nominated.
Yeah, I know.
Crazy
it's crazy
stuff.
So yeah, those are the 5 nominees for 2015, and those are the 5 episodes we're going to be diving into.
Yep. The poll should be live by the time you are hearing this. So
yep.
Make sure they're all 5 different. Yes. So down in the description, click on it, go to the community tab, and you can vote on your favorite episode, which one you think is the most award-worthy. I forgot to link the video here, but that's completely fine. You guys know what video it is. You're watching it right now.
Yep, absolutely. So go vote. Pokemon, go to the polls.
Mm-hmm.
Hey.
All right. I think that's everything squared away. I didn't tweet. I guess I can tweet about the. I'll just tweet the link.
Okay.
Yeah, this has been a week, guys. It's been a real crazy week. But we're here. We're gonna talk about some interesting stuff. I know a lot of it's the same shows we talked about last week, but I think this week's a little more interesting to talk about.
Mm-hmm. I think so too. I think so too.
All right, tweet it out. Here we go. All right, should we start off the way we always start off?
Oh yeah, of course. Bob's Burgers, can't buy me math. Wouldn't have it any other way.
You guys remember Bob's Burgers?
I mean, how could they not?
Every week. It's a party every week.
I'm your man.
Okay, so this episode is called Can't Buy Me Math, and you're not going to believe this. It's a Valentine's Day episode, which is, I guess this is the first, or maybe it's not even the first. Maybe there's one before this, but this is the 3rd time that we've talked about a Bob's Burgers episode nominated that's a Valentine's episode. So I don't know what that means, but I don't love this show. So it's Valentine's, and Tina, there's a whole math thing, but that doesn't really matter. But basically, there's this rule at the school where the 2 people that are voted, like that date and then break up, they're destined to be with whoever they want to be with afterwards, if they're like the cutest couple or something. And so she fake dates this boy played by Aziz Ansari in order so that they can both date who they really want to date afterwards. And then Tina falls for him, shocker, and then he gets with the girl that he actually wanted to get with, and then she breaks them up, and then they get with. I don't know. How do you describe this plot? It's
romantic.
Have you ever seen a
sitcom.
rom-com?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever it's just exactly that. Have you 2 characters in a fake relationship, but one of them falls for each other? Oh wow. They even lampshade it in the show. They're like, Tina's like, "Don't you fall for me," and of course, Tina being Tina falls for him.
Yeah.
How many years has this show been on that she's been just like pining after Jimmy Jr., lukewarm, milquetoast, boring love interest?
Wasn't it like 2010 or 2011 when it came out? I think.
I don't know. I think this was season 5, so I think the show came out around 2010. So
yeah.
It's been like 11 years of this nonsense, and I know we're going back in time, and this came before all the other episodes, but it's just like, wow. Like, they really can't think of much else to do with her. Mm-hmm. Granted, she has a crush on a different boy in this episode, but even still, she defaults back to Jimmy Jr. There's also a subplot with Bob and, what's her name? Linda?
Yep.
Where it's Valentine's Day, and so they do like a Valentine's advent calendar. They try to do some fun adult things, but it always ends up just being awkward.
Yeah, it never succeeds, at least until the last one, where they finally have some fun, I guess.
Yeah.
But, yeah. There's a lot of toilet humor in this one. Like,
yeah, there's jokes about peeing in the bathtub.
Yeah. It's very juvenile, as, that's par for the course at this point. Like, I wouldn't say this episode was, like, absolutely unbearable, but it really just felt like a standard episode of Bob's Burgers. At least from my experience with all of the other nominees.
It kind of is the bread and butter of this show, in that it's like Tina has a crush and it ends poorly, and Bob and Linda try to do something and it just doesn't really pan out, and it's just kind of awkward. I feel like that's kind of where this show goes a lot. And to its credit, I will say Bob and Linda's awkward adult times actually made me laugh a little bit. I thought that was kind of like funnily awkward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was endearing. It was endearing for sure. I thought I think the first one, or maybe it was the second with the strawberry in the pocket, that one just kind of went on and on. But
Yeah.
I found that the whole dancing scene at the end, that was kind of like a coup de grace, I guess you could say. I thought that one was amusing for sure. Um, as far as
Also,
oh, go ahead.
yeah. I gotta be right back for a few minutes. So if you could just talk about Bob's Burgers to the audience, that would be amazing. Watch how long Shadow can talk about this show. I'll be back in a
Oh
few
boy.
minutes.
All right. Well, I'll try to be not super overly negative with this show, but like I don't know. Bob's Burgers as a whole just doesn't really do anything for me. I mean, I'm honestly baffled that it has such mainstream, like widespread appeal considering how boring and static it is. If you've tuned in to previous weeks, you've already heard us kind of acknowledge it, but this episode's no different. The staging and like blocking of the characters on screen, the animation, none of it's very impressive by any stretch of the imagination. I think there was one shot in particular that kind of stood out to Pi and I when we were watching this, and it was a shot of like the frame was set so it was behind Bob in the bathroom, and you could see him like open the door with his right arm, and underneath his arm Linda was like actually framed. And Pi pointed it out. He's like, this is probably the most complicated shot this whole episode has. Sure enough, it was. You know, Peter Don says Bob and Linda are a good couple with a healthy relationship, which is refreshing for an adult show, but their relationship is not that interesting. You're 100% correct. That is an excellent point because compared to other shows like, you know, The Simpsons, Family Guy, Rick and Morty, there tends to be a lot of conflict with the relationship between the mother and father character. You know, Beth and Jerry especially, it feels like it's every single episode. And yeah, I would agree. Bob and Linda really don't have that kind of like toxic element to them that is like we said, very endearing. I quite enjoy that they actually get along and they don't fight too much, and even when they do, it's a simple misunderstanding, they move right past it. So I can that's a good point. I will definitely give Bob's Burgers credit on that front for at least having decent parent characters. Um but it's really just not my thing. Yeah. Let's see. My family once tried showing me an episode of Bob's Burgers in our hotel, but I remember the cinematography alone bored me so much that I asked them to change the channel. Brant, that is absolutely 100% exactly how I feel too. It's a very, very static, uninteresting show. Not a lot is going on. Most of the characters are always drawn from either a head on perspective facing directly into the camera, or it's like a side view. There's not a lot of movement. There's hardly any shots where the camera actually moves at all. The characters are very, very stiff in the way they move. It's not super well animated, especially with this being the Emmys, which, as I've said before, I kind of judge these nominees based on a few factors. That being, A, is it just, a good episode? B, does it break any new ground? Does it do anything interesting that hasn't been seen very much before, if at all? Did it set a new trend? Did it do something interesting? There are moments in Bob's Burgers where it gets a little actiony with some of the things, like the trapeze episode from a few weeks back. But for the most part, this episode in particular, it's just par for the course. We've already seen.
Sounds like you're having a good discussion here, Shadow.
I'm
proud of you, buddy.
Managed to carry it surprisingly.
You did it, man.
It's just another episode of Bob's Burgers where there's a Valentine's plot going on, and it's about teen in a relationship, and it's boring. Last week's episode about the horse was like the second
Definitely
most
better.
Interesting. Yeah, by a landslide. This one's kind of like just smack dab in the middle for me. I don't feel particularly negative or positive towards it. I kind of just it's there. It's neutral.
It happened. Yeah, that's exactly how I feel about it. I don't feel hatred for this episode. I don't feel like this was like an awful episode of television. I just feel like I got exactly nothing out of it. And why was this nominated? Did you talk about the framing?
Yes, I did. I mentioned
Yeah,
the door with Bob opening it.
I
Yep.
noticed it. I was like, wait a
Mhm.
minute, is there a shot in this show that isn't just two characters talking? That's like either a side shot or a character staring you dead in the face. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, 10 years of the show, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
I don't know
I
how they
kind
did
of,
it. I don't
and I
know.
mean this is season 5, I believe.
Yep.
So I guess this is what you'd consider like classic Bob's Burgers. Um, yeah, I don't know. I know someone mentioned it. Next week there's a pretty interesting parody with a talking toilet, and I'm pretty sure I've seen that episode. I was looking at some of the episodes, and I'm like, yeah, I've seen a lot of these episodes. Because at one point I did watch this show just entirely. I can't say I ever loved it, but um, I know there's better than this on Bob's Burgers. I know they can do better, and hopefully, going back in time one more year will be when it clicks. You know. But either way, we only have a few more seasons of Bob's Burgers, a few more weeks of that. Um, Again, sorry to anyone who likes this show. We're not intentionally trying to dump all over it, but it's just very weak, and especially when you are presenting it in a category where there's other really good episodes and really good things. It's just like it makes this look even weaker than it is. It's like, Bob's Burgers on its own is what it is, but like if you're gonna put it up next to like, really great things like BoJack and Rick and Morty and Phineas and Ferb, it's just gonna look sad in comparison. It's like it's almost like you're comparing our podcast with like a TV show. You know what I mean? Like it feels like it's just such a different thing or such a downgrade. Um, yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. I have to imagine the budget on the show is very low. Um, so
This is
we
like
can,
this
yeah.
is like the plain flavor of like a potato chip or something. This is just the plain potato chip of animation right here. It's
It's like the model
yeah.
that all these other Fox shows, even though it wasn't the first one, you know. Um,
Yeah. I mean,
and I mean,
I can tolerate a plain like Pringles or a plain Lay's chip, but I'm always going to go for something more interesting like barbecue or sour cream and onion. I mean, I don't know. That's the best analogy I got.
yeah. I mean, the other thing too, it's worth saying that Bob's Burgers replaced King of the Hill. It's
Mhm.
not necessarily the reason it was canceled or anything like that, but just like this was the show that Fox had step up and kind of be the, I guess, quieter version of like The Simpsons and Family Guy, because King of the Hill was, um, I mean, it was a long running show, so it had its problems in the later years, and I'm not saying that show deserved to go on for any longer because it got like 12 seasons, but
Mhm.
King of the Hill was a very good show. I would say a much better show with a lot more to say about society or literally anything than Bob's Burgers. I guess that's the other thing too you could say about Bob's Burgers, and probably the reason why some people are really drawn to it is that Bob's Burgers has nothing political to say. It has nothing to say about society, about inequality, about issues facing people. Like it doesn't have anything to say about any of that. And I'm not saying every show needs to, but it's just like there's no greater meaning to any of it ever. And
Mhm.
nothing that we've seen though. Nothing. It's always just boy trouble or romantic trouble or the restaurant's in trouble or Louise is a loudmouth. I mean, granted, we saw an episode that was like a girl power episode or whatever,
Yep.
but that had nothing to say about like femininity or how men and women treat each other. It had nothing to say about it at all. It's just girls are cool. Like that was the message of that episode. Like there's nothing. I don't know, and maybe there are some episodes that do that sort of thing, but in everything I've seen, inoffensive is the correct term. Is that it never takes any chance to actually say something about anything.
Yep. Yep. It's very
Um,
safe. Very safe.
Pete of Dawn says the new Fox show Duncanville is getting a second season soon. It has potential to replace Bob's Burgers. Hoping it turns out more interesting because the season one finale showed promise. Interesting. I wonder if that's gonna get nominated.
Oh,
Um,
maybe.
yeah. I mean, we are Bob's Burgers may have actually passed King of the Hill. I'm not sure, but it's close in terms of how many years it's been running. But to be fair, Bob's Burgers is also supposed to get a movie. I actually read that it was on indefinite hiatus because of COVID. So
yeah, they announced that movie like years ago. At this point, it's like COVID probably just pushed it even further.
Maybe the Adventure Time movie will beat it out.
Ooh,
and the Powerpuff Girls too.
I wish.
Yeah. So
yeah.
All right, let's move on. You'll hear more about Bob's Burgers in the next few weeks, and then never again.
Yeah, can't wait. All right.
Yeah.
So nominee number 2, we've got Archer with Pocket Listing.
Real quick, we got a super chat from Redway 2. Haven't seen you around here before. That's cool. 100 rubles, I want to say. Is that rubles?
I'm not sure.
I have no idea. Some amount of currency. And they say, I generally like the South Park Canadian episodes, and the freemium one is one of the better later episodes. All right, well, we will certainly talk about that soon.
Yep.
And thanks for the super chat, Toon J. The Cleveland Show replaced King of the Hill, not Bob's Burgers. Oh, that's right. The Cleveland Show did. Bob's Burgers was a few years later. That's a good point.
Okay.
But I feel like in terms of like what it is, it definitely. I mean, Cleveland Show was Family Guy too. Like that's not even.
Yep.
That's not up for a debate. You know, everyone knows that. Whereas Bob's Burgers definitely. You know, I mean, grilling burgers was the thing that Hank Hill did. You know, like it's again. I'm not saying the show was designed to like copy King of the Hill, but it's definitely more in line with that than a lot of the other Fox stuff that they put out. All right, what next, Shadow?
We've got Archer Pocket Listing.
Okay, so this episode of Archer takes place in a season where they're actually spies. Can you believe it? So this episode is more like what the show was like for the first 7-ish seasons. Basically, in that the gang has to do a spy mission, and in this case, they have to steal the fingerprints and face prints, I guess, of some foreign prince. And they do it by posing as real estate agents and butler staff for Cheryl's manor. And along the way, I guess interpersonal conflicts get in the way. And of course, Archer just completely disregards the entire plan and gets what he wants.
Yeah, this was...
What do you think about Archer? More normal version of Archer.
I was going to say, this is kind of what, like, along the lines of what I thought this show was like, so I'm glad I'm actually getting to, like, finally see that.
Yeah.
Because the last 2 weeks were a little strange.
You don't say.
Yeah, it was decently entertaining. There were some jokes in here that, you know, got me to laugh. I love the overuse of the tranquilizer gun for starters. That was pretty amusing.
Very simple gag, but
yeah,
it works.
Very simple but effective. And they even acknowledged when he like goes to shoot Christian Slater one time, he's like, "Oh,
well, the character's name is just Slater.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The actor is Christian Slater. The character's name is just Slater.
Okay.
All right.
Well, when he went to go shoot him, he's like, "Oh, I was wondering how many darts were in this thing." So yeah.
Yeah.
Got a little weird towards the end, but otherwise it was not bad.
I mean, there was definitely a scene that was the most adult thing we've talked about, or of the things we've seen. Certainly a little more risque than Bob on Bob's Burgers. Bob does take off his clothes in that one though, so Archer's a less hairy man than Bob. I can say that.
Yeah,
I can
report
that.
Credit is due.
Archer probably waxes though, like his whole body. I believe that. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of forget why I liked Archer so much, to be honest with you. All these episodes that we've seen, including the one I had to watch for the recast, which comes after this one, a few episodes later. I'm just like, there's a reason I like this show. I thought it was funny at one point, but I don't know if I just grew up a little more, or because I'm out of the show, I'm like out of the loop on all the running gags now. Like, I don't know. I thought there were a few funny jokes, but overall it was just kind of Ro whatever says, I didn't notice Figus's voice was Jerry seeing last week's ep, but after y'all mentioned it, I can't unhear it.
Oh my god.
Yep. Sorry for that.
Mhm.
Yeah. And of course, Shadow knows Jerry very well. That's a weird sentence, but you've seen a lot of Rick and Morty.
Yep.
Even though this show came before, and Chris Parnell is just Chris Parnell. Like he's not doing an accent or like he's lowering his voice. Like it's the same voice. And it's the same character, if we're being honest. In this episode, he basically tries to get with Lana and rebound with her or tries to if you kiss me, then Archer will be jealous. And it doesn't work because he's a loser. He's a loser in this show. He's a loser in Rick and Morty. I don't know if Chris Parnell was a loser on Saturday Night Live. Maybe. I don't know. And I don't know what else he was in. So
yeah,
I don't know what. Yeah.
What am I? Elena and the Secret of Avalor. He was in that.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't a loser in that one. Credit where credit's due.
He was some sort of gargoyle creature, whatever those were called. Oh man.
Oh
my gosh. Yeah. So I don't know. There's really not a lot to say. It's kind of like a heist episode, but not really because none of the characters take it seriously in the slightest.
Yeah, they start out serious at first, and then they just kind of go and do their own thing, and it gets a little random here and there. All just kind of.
It's also kind of reliant on interpersonal relationships. You have to know that Archer and Lana were a thing at one point, and Archer wants to be with Lana, and I don't know if you knew that Lana and Cyril were together at the start of the show. You wouldn't really find it funny knowing Pam is Archer's best friend unless you've seen the rest of the show. Some of the running gags, yeah. I don't know. It was all right. I mean, there's better animated than Bob's Burgers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's more animation.
That's not really. It's not much of an accomplishment at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was all right. It was all right. I don't know. I still can't see myself getting invested in Archer just based off of this. I mean, I don't know. Were they earlier? I mean, I don't know if you'd remember. Early? Is it the farther back you go, the better it gets, or?
Season 1 was a bit rough.
Okay.
No, the show hit its peak around maybe season 4. Honestly, I haven't seen it in a few years, but I probably would have picked the bottle episode from this season, which the gang gets stuck in an elevator, and so it's just entirely. I mean, it's kind of like the BoJack episode, to be honest, because it's entirely dialogue, but it's all just tons of. Well, I guess this is why they didn't pick it, because it's just so many running jokes and little things kind of coming back that I guess it would be very alienating for an outsider. But there's another episode where Archer fights a robot exoskeleton. That's pretty cool. There's an episode that, really I would have picked almost any other episode this season except not the shrinking episode, not the one where they go inside a body. But there's an episode where there's still a World War II fighter who's in a jungle somewhere thinking that the war's still going on, and it's inspired by a true story. There's one where Archer goes to Wales. There's a lot of interesting episodes this season. I think it might be my favorite season of Archer.
So it sounds like they just nominated the wrong episode then.
I don't know why they picked this one, to be honest with you. Maybe the animation on the giant Venus flytrap thing that exists for some reason.
Yeah,
I don't know why. It has nothing to do with anything.
I was kind of asking myself while I was thinking about it after we finished the episode was what made this episode so special that it was nominated for an Emmy and that people voted for it? Because I'm not really seeing.
Hang on. Chris Parnell is the insurance box in the Progressive commercial?
Oh my God, he is. Oh my gosh, you're right.
That box is kind of a loser.
I hear it now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my epiphany of the week. What? Oh, I can't unhear it. Okay, thank you for that little tidbit. That just blew my mind. Wow, I don't know where to go from there.
Okay. Well, anyway, no, I don't know. There's a few spots of particularly interesting animation, where characters kind of, I think right as Lana and Archer were about to make out, there's some good animation. I don't know. Yeah, no, I'm really not sure. Maybe they felt this was the most standalone of all of the episodes this season. I'm surprised they didn't nominate the shrinking episode, which I don't know what we would have done if they did, because I wasn't gonna watch that again. But yeah. All right. I don't know. Nothing else to say about this, really. It's there.
Okay. Well, then I guess we can move on to the third nominee.
Ooh.
Over the Garden Wall.
I don't know that there's a lot to talk about with this, to be honest.
Yeah.
We could just...
All right, let's just skip it. All right, next up. So we're going to South Park. Freemium isn't free. No, I'm just kidding. Over the Garden Wall. This is...
Yes. Wait, hang on.
Phenomenal.
No. All right, we got to just talk. We got to get it out of the way. Elephant in the room. How did this get put in this category? What is going on? How can you just nominate an entire... It didn't even air on the same day. Like, it aired throughout a week. How can you consider this to be one thing that's over a half hour? There's distinct chapters. Like, I watched it all in one shot today. Like, all together. It works, right, as kind of like a movie, basically. But it is distinctly a mini-series of a bunch of episodes. I don't know how you could classify... Like, I'm just going to start saying, oh, well, they should have just picked... They should have picked season 3 of SpongeBob. They should have nominated season 3.
Yeah.
Right? You just shove all the episodes together, and it's over a half hour, so that's all that matters, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is the same as a season of Infinity Train. Nominate season 3 of Infinity Train. What's up with that? Like,
do it, cowards.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they can now, but
season 4.
Season 4. Nominate it. Anyways.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no answers. I'm glad this was nominated. But I have no... I'm really curious how that counted. Because this feels so arbitrary.
Yeah.
Why not just one episode? Well, because it wouldn't even classify, because it's the half hour or more. There is an 11-minute category they could have nominated one episode for. And I'm kind of glad they didn't, because I don't really know what one episode you'd pick out of the bunch, to be honest. I think it's just a very solid package altogether. Okay, so, yeah. CN maybe aired it as a movie. I mean, at one point they probably did air it all, like, at once.
Did.
But it didn't premiere that way. You know what I mean? That's like saying, well, there was a marathon of SpongeBob, so it all aired together. Let's throw it,
Well, yeah, that is interesting.
I don't know. But who cares? This is Over the Garden Wall. What a just phenomenally artistic piece of beauty.
This is like a textbook case of a creator having a vision, having an idea, being given that creative ability to make it happen, putting it out there, and it's just marvelous. It's superb. One of the best things Cartoon Network put out for the entire decade of the 2010s.
Yeah.
Without question. Like, I cannot sing its praises enough. It's so gripping. It's so invigorating. The world that they kind of, set up is super immersive. There's so many things that you just you're constantly asking questions. I'm probably a broken record at this point with the whole asking questions thing, but that's kind of like my jam, This thing had me asking so many questions from the beginning. I just got so invested from beginning to end. The characters are endearing. I just, oh man, I get so excited every time I go back to watch this.
Yeah. When I initially watched it and reviewed it, I was kind of lukewarm on it, and I don't know why, really. I think I went in with the wrong mindset, because it's fantastic. I watched it this Halloween, and I rewatched it again today, and it's so good, and it's so better on the second watch. You should throw up a spoiler tag if you haven't, because
okay, yeah.
I mean, there's some pretty big spoilers we'll get into later, but one of the things I like about it is that watching it a second time, there's a lot of pieces of it that make a lot more sense once you know what the characters were doing prior to the series. Like, it explains why Greg had candy in his pants, just as one example. But another thing is the miniseries opens up with a bunch of kind of like silhouettes or vignettes of a few different characters and scenes that we're gonna see later. And once you know the context, you watch it again, you're like, oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense. Like it's a good show, not just because it's an entertaining ride where you don't know what's gonna happen next, but also because when you do know what's gonna happen, it's still an entertaining ride.
100%. This is definitely something that encourages rewatch, like through and through.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the best things about this, in my opinion, is the voice acting.
I was just about to bring that up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Elijah Wood,
of course.
Christopher Lloyd, Tim Curry.
Christopher Lloyd is the best. No, like Elijah Wood does a great job. Whoever voices Greg also does a fantastic. Like there's good voices in this all around, but Christopher Lloyd as the woodsman, phenomenal. He brings such an intensity to the role. It's basically like, he's the bad guy in Roger Rabbit, right? And it's like that level of intensity to this. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's very performative. I think like not a single character in this really like disappoints me or bores me. Like I find everyone has a role to play. Everyone is interesting. Man, it's just so much fun. Like the whole intrigue and mystery. Sorry, my recliner. That's my recliner. My recliner, I swear. God, I'm so tongue-tied right now. The intrigue, the mystery, the characters are just. I need a minute. My mind's a blur. It's just a jumbled mess of so many thoughts, and I can't get them out.
All right. Well, I will be right back. So you're gonna have to figure out what you're gonna say.
Well, in that case,
sorry about this, guys.
That's okay. All right. So yeah. Gosh. So. You know what? I may as well ask the chat because I want to get your guys' opinions on Over the Garden Wall. For like those of you who've seen, like, what favorite episode? What's your favorite episode of the 10? Because I don't even know if I can pick one. So I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say. You want to rewatch the series again? Absolutely, Lauren. Like, I highly recommend it. I watch it not quite every year for Halloween. I know it's like a tradition among many people, and I would definitely encourage watching it around that season because October's like the perfect setting. Pie Guy's gone. Dab, dab, dab. I agree, Nick. It's just us now. Even in the screen grab you guys chose alone, the visuals are so atmospheric. Just looking at the background makes you feel like you're there. 100%. The art, like the backgrounds, the settings, they're so well done. Like that looks so brilliantly hand painted. There was so much care and attention and detail put into every little element. And if there's one thing that Over the Garden Wall, like I would say excels above all else, atmosphere, mood, and tone. This is how you create something ominous, spooky, yet invigorating, thrilling. One thing that I'm not really a fan of, I'm not big on horror movies, particularly like over the top jump scares, gore, that sort of thing. But I love like thriller movies that like, yeah, they can scare you here and there, but it gets you more excited than outright terrified. And I think that's what Over the Garden Wall is really good at, is it immerses you. Episode 6, the one on the ferry, ooh, that is a good one. Yeah, and the other thing is like it starts out pretty solid, and then it just gets better and better as it goes along. So I commend it for like gripping me, pulling me in, and then I'm just along for the ride. I really cannot express enough just how exciting this is. And I really wish the Cartoon Network would do more miniseries like this. Not necessarily just repeating the formula, but greenlight some more miniseries. Do another 10 episode like special or something. I know Infinity Train, when it was like first announced, people all got freaked out because it was like Infinity Train was announced as a 10 episode miniseries. Little did we realize it was actually an anthology show, and each season followed a different character. And personally, I do prefer that. I'm glad Infinity Train was definitely more than one season, but I really wish the Cartoon Network would put out more things like Over the Garden Wall. Put some faith in a creator who has a vision, has an idea. Clearly this worked. They should continue to do that. And it's honestly surprising.
But they shouldn't make more Over the Garden Wall.
Oh yeah, that's what I was saying. I was like, don't just copy the formula, but like follow the same principles. Give some creators with a vision the resources to put something like this together. And as history has shown, a lot of the times things that are more creator driven can be very, very good. Like, this doesn't feel manufactured. This doesn't feel like a Ben 10 reboot or a Powerpuff Girls 2016. Like, this is definitely on the higher end, more artistic side of Cartoon Network. And it shows that,
absolutely.
Modern Cartoon Network at the time, I know that it was popular to hate on Cartoon Network throughout the 2010s for not being as good as it used to. But, like, this was a clear-cut case of being like, are you kidding me? This is better than some of the stuff they were airing 20, 25 years ago. Like, this is some of the best.
I love Cartoon Network in the 2010s. I think they're definitely better than the 2000s as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. They did do Long Live the Royals. Okay, that's fair. I forgot about that.
Yeah, but then they never promoted it, and no one knew it existed.
Exactly.
Like, that's on them. That's on them. I can't tell you how good or bad the show was. But it's on them that I didn't know about it until a few years ago. Like, that show exists to just be a hard Sporkle question.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. One of my favorite things about this show is that it is just 10 episodes and nothing else. I think they did like 10 comics or something, but there's no. Please, Cartoon Network, don't ever bring this back as a movie or as like a sequel or any. Like, give Pat McHale a new miniseries if you want. Like, sure, bring some of the people back, but just like let this be. Let this be.
Yeah, and it's perfectly fine as it is. It can stand on its own, and that's how it should be.
Yeah, and for all the crap that Cartoon Network can put out, your Powerpuff reboots, Teen Titans Go, like, they still do this sort of thing, right? Mm-hmm. They'll still give like Adventure Time Distant Lands. They'll still give Adventure Time in general. They'll still put out things that are very like artistically creative, I think, or artistically valid. Like I have not seen that at Nickelodeon since Legend of Korra. Like I wouldn't say anything. They put out good shows, but I don't know about artistically valid in the same way. Maybe Harvey Peaks, but oops. So they'll create a spinoff called Garden. No,
don't do that. Don't
stop it. Did you mention Tim Curry was in this too?
I did mention Tim Curry. Briefly, but yes, Tim Curry is in it. Yeah.
I love the. Did you talk about the otherworldly feel?
I talked about the atmosphere and tone. We mentioned the backgrounds being very they look like hand painted. They're beautiful.
Well, yeah, and it's got this very like hard to place, old timey nature to the designs. Mm-hmm. Like it feels very Cuphead, and I say that knowing Cuphead is inspired by like what Fleischer cartoons, like very old stuff. This actually might even predate Cuphead. I'm not sure, but there's something very interesting about that. That it is a modern animation, modern inking, modern all this stuff. But like a lot of the designs, especially I'm thinking in Wert's or Greg's Dream ? The fantasy sequence or whatever that is. That especially, all those designs feel like they could have been in like a Mickey Mouse cartoon circa 1930. And I don't know whether it's intentional or not, but it's very unnerving. I find it incredibly creepy, that episode. Mm-hmm. I don't know whether it's supposed to be, but it's very like off-putting just how distant and old the designs are and the way the characters act, and like they even do the that like vignette effect, like the circle effect that they used to do in old cartoons. I don't know why they used to do that, but yeah.
Yeah, I would almost make a comparison. Like one thing it makes me think of is like Grimm's fairy tales.
Yes.
Like, the actual like darker original versions of like fables and fairy tales and things like that. Not the
It's a modern day fairy tale. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, though it takes place in like the 80s.
Yeah, but it's got that whole like feel, like these characters, the fantasy elements, the world, it's dark and mysterious and like you said, unnerving. I think that is an excellent word to use to describe it. But it's also like thrilling and exciting, and it pulls you in. You want to know, like, where's this going? What's going to happen next? I think it's great. I think it's.
Do you
great.
have any issues with the show?
I was thinking about that because I was watching it and I was like, is there anything I don't really like? And honestly, I'm not really. There's nothing like major that really interferes. I think it's a bit slow at points, but it immediately rebounds from that and picks right back up.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't have anything major. I would say the episode with the girl that's cursed with the bell. I would say that the end result of that is kind of stupid. Like all they had to do is just say leave spirit. Like that's it.
Yeah.
That's all. Like why did Auntie whatever her name was not do that sooner?
Like
you know what I
Where
mean?
you're coming from.
I like that episode. But it is just kind of like a swipe or no swiping moment where it's just like, Yeah. CDCB says that circle effect was essentially a zoom in close type thing when you were supposed to focus on a specific character. Oh, interesting.
There you go.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't have anything bad to say about the big picture. There's a lot of good themes in it. Like you'll notice it. I mean, and they're not. I wouldn't say they're insanely obvious either. But things like we're learning to not just do as he's told or kind of like go with it. Obviously, the big one is him becoming a better brother. Yeah. That sort of thing. I'll also say that Greg is 100% the most realistic written child character in basically any cartoon. Like, we talk about, like, on Bob's Burgers, the emotional age of these characters, like, the things that they say and do are things that, like, like, however old Louise is supposed to be would act in that exact way, right? Like, on The Simpsons, Lisa Simpson does not act like an 8-year-old most of the time. Sometimes, yes, but most of the time, these characters are written to emulate that age, but then also be older when they need to take part in more serious conversations or whatever. But Greg is just like, he gets distracted easily. He uses things that he hears but doesn't quite understand. Like, he misuses phrases and terms. He's constantly renaming the frog, and he throws the money in the fountain, which is just like, and the pun about how he doesn't have any sense. It's just like, that's one of those moments where I'm like, I want to hate this, but it's just so cute. Like it's just, yeah, exactly. It's like in any other show, I'd be like, oh, this kid. But he's very, very sweet. Apparently the director of Over the Garden Wall, Nick Cash, also boarded and wrote a bunch of season 5 through 8 SpongeBob episodes, like the Splinter or Truth or Square. I still believe, in my heart anyway, that Truth or Square was the result of just some horrible production schedule. I don't think that would be anyone's best work, to be honest. But now that you say that, Nate Cash, the name does sound familiar. And of course, Pat McHale worked on Adventure Time for the first, I believe, 2 seasons. So character Party Pat is based on him visually. And his quote is found in front of the episode Ocean of Fear. Yeah. Would you say that Greg's accuracy to real children is something more shows need to adopt? No, I think there's a very good reason why you have characters acting a lot of the time in ways that are more mature than they quote-unquote should, just because it makes the show more tolerable. If, let's say, there were 5 characters that were Greg's age and they all acted like Greg, I think that would be obnoxious. I don't think it would, like, if the Rugrats acted realistically as their age, you wouldn't want that. There would be no show, like, I think there's a very real reason why that exists. But I think that this show beautifully subverted it and presented us with a child character that genuinely felt it through and through, while not being obnoxious.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite episode?
See, I actually posed that question in the chat earlier. I honestly can't decide. Like, I think there's so many good ones to choose from. Nintendo mentioned the fairy episode. I think that's a pretty solid contender. I really enjoy that episode.
I like the last two episodes, but they only work so well because of the rest of the show. Yeah. It was very wise of them to kind of begin in media res and then give us the backstory after, once we cared about these characters. Yeah, I think if I had to pick like a favorite, I guess just kind of more isolated episode, it'd probably be the mansion one. Like,
yeah,
it's just it's so weird and such like a bizarre concept that their mansions somehow built together. Like, I don't know, it's just cool. So yeah.
Yeah, all in all, definitely a very, very solid pick, and I'm very glad
Yeah.
that it got nominated and got recognized.
Yeah, very, very worthy, I would say. It feels like nothing else that came out that year, or really any other year, to be honest. It very much feels like its own unique thing. Certainly, as everything is, it's inspired by things. It's clearly inspired by fairy tales. But it's so transformative and different. It's just like, wow. CDCB says that 9 is his favorite. And yeah, I mean that's the one where we see what the boy's life is like in. Did you throw the spoiler thing up? Yeah, you did.
Yep.
In the real world, and why everything is. So do you think the adventure actually happened? By the way,
I want to say it did. I do. Just because.
Well, they both remember it. They both remember it, right? Or at least Greg talks about it. Wirt doesn't necessarily, but if Wirt didn't remember it, then the whole thing would be pointless, right? Because he's the one that has to grow a lot more than Greg does. Greg certainly does grow a little bit, but it's Wirt's journey, so I don't know. I guess it happened as much as the Wizard of Oz happened, right? Like, the way it's presented, it's not like they went through any portal or anything. They literally just passed out in a river. Yeah. Do you like the fact that this was a miniseries, or would you have wanted more seasons of this?
No, honestly, I'm content with exactly how it came out. I think it's solid from beginning to end. I don't think anything more needed to be added. It told it the story it wanted to tell. It's got all of its points and messages across in the 10 episodes, and yeah, I think it's just great as is. And I couldn't complain.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that the only reason this is as tight as it is because it was on whatever production schedule the miniseries was on. You know what I mean? Like, I think I think if you had to extrapolate this into a few seasons, I don't think it would be as tight as it is. I mean, obviously, I don't think they would have ended it the way they did if they had to come up with a second season. Although it is kind of parallel to Infinity Train in a lot of ways. This could have been a season of Infinity Train.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, in a lot of ways, it did lay the groundwork for what Infinity Train was. Like, but, yeah. I think that's about it. I just think that this was a very special and unique thing that holds up very well. You know, it's been what? It's been 6 years? 7 years, something like that, since this, and I still think this will be timeless because guess what? There's no references to twerking in it. I know, right? It's amazing.
Crazy.
Right? The only real world reference is like cassette tapes, and guess what? They've already been out of date, so we don't have to worry about that aging any more than it already has. Until cassette tapes come back in style.
Yep.
As they will eventually, because
give it a few years.
Yeah. Fun fact: the voice actress who plays Beatrice, she's from New Zealand. First of all, that's not her real accent. Crazy, right? And second of all, she's actually engaged to the voice actor who plays Dipper on Gravity Falls.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, we can move on.
All right. So next up, nominee number 4 is South Park: Freemium Isn't Free.
Okay. So, this episode is about a new mobile game from Canada about Terrence and Phillip is sweeping South Park, and Stan gets addicted to it. But it turns out that it's a freemium game in which they constantly are pushing you to spend real world money to get Canado, and Stan gets addicted to it. And then it's revealed to be a plot by the Canadian devil, and the real devil fights him.
Yeah. This
Beelzebut.
This one's definitely taken some jabs at the whole mobile gaming market, and there's a lot of points that no way, I had no idea.
Never.
I
does South Park have one of these games, by the way? Can someone answer me that question? Because The Simpsons does, and it's terrible.
I know
it's terrible, and yeah.
I know of like the Stick of Truth and Fractured.
Nah, that's not a.
But those
game.
aren't the yeah. Also, yeah, I guess I can remove the spoiler tag.
Spoilers. Freemium game. Premium games exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the episode. I do.
Well. Okay.
Yeah,
You sound like you had more to say, so go for it.
Yeah, so I agree with a lot of the points that this episode's making, but at the same time, it's kind of a no duh sort of thing. Like, anyone who's kind of familiar with mobile gaming can realize that, yeah, the practices are pretty scummy, and they are inclined to make people get addicted to spending money through these microtransactions. So even though the game appears free on the surface, it's definitely not that way if you actually want to play the game. I'm not a fan of this sort of thing.
I disagree with you.
Really?
Not about games. About the fact that it's obvious. This came out in 2014, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So these sorts of games were not as pervasive as they are now, and I don't think it was as talked about as widely back then. Mm-hmm. And also, you're coming at this from the perspective of a gamer, of someone who follows games media, reads articles about gaming. You're within gaming culture, whereas a lot of the targets for these games are not gamers, not people who are savvy to the way that these games work. These are, just anyone with a smartphone, which is a lot of people. So I think that, yes, if you were to really critically look at any of this, maybe it is a bit obvious. It's not the most complicated thing, certainly. But if you're just someone that decided, oh, I like The Simpsons, right? I'm gonna download the Simpsons app. Oh, good, it's got Homer talking to me. Like, isn't that funny? Oh, wait, I have to wait in order to do something? Nah, I'll just spend $1, right? That sort of thing is not obvious. And also the point about the second reveal in this episode, which isn't just how the games work, but is also about the fact that these are designed to just addict whales. This is not about getting everyone to constantly spend money. There's a small subset of people who will get hardcore addicted, who has a lot of money to throw around, and will pour hundreds, if not thousands of dollars into these games. And that these games effectively aren't just a fun game, right? Like that you spend money on because you're having fun. That these are games that psychologically are there to not be fun, to be just barely only a little fun in order to milk you out of money. And the analogies this episode makes with slot machines and gambling and drinking as well, I think are absolutely spot on. And I think that this episode's moral ground, and I think that in terms of this episode explaining how all this works, how the system works, why it works, how insidious it really is. It's not just we provide you with a good product. It's we intentionally make this product worse to vacuum money out of you and people who are mentally susceptible to this sort of thing. I think this episode does a fantastic job at.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't love the episode.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a good story, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it does a fantastic job at educating people, but I think as a story, it's just like it doesn't go anywhere. It's like Stan's addicted to the game, and then the devil shows up out of nowhere and it just sits down and explains it to Stan. There's no less than 3 scenes of characters explaining how this all works. And it's just kind of like I don't know, like maybe tell more of a story in there with that. I think that like I said, I think this episode is doing good. I think that it definitely doesn't fall into the trap that a lot of South Park episodes do. Like this is not a gross episode. I'm trying to think. I don't know that there's any gross out jokes. There's Terrence and Phillip farting. I think
Yeah,
that's
that's about
about
as
as
far as
like
it goes.
yeah, it's a pretty like PG episode, I guess, unless I might be missing a one-off joke. Um
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Yeah, like Peter Don says, the story of the episode isn't great, but the commentary is fantastic. I completely agree with that. And I mean, as long as you're doing something right, I think that's good. I think this episode is a net good. It's not my favorite episode of South Park, and just like looking at it as a whole package, it's like, yes, it exposes things, but does it do it in a way that feels more like an episode or more like a lecture? I think more like a lecture.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely agree. I think what it is saying, like, I am in full support of, and it's definitely scummy what it comes across as, but yeah, it felt very like straightforward, directly, preaching this. Excuse me, this idea. It's just basically like there's not really a lot of depth, and yeah, like you said, the story just doesn't really pull you in. It's more like the only goal it really had was to kind of explain the exploitation that's going on here. So yeah, I definitely agree. I think lecture is a good way to put it. I have a question for you though, because I'm not really that familiar with South Park. Are all the Canadians in the show animated like that, or is it just for this one episode?
Well, that's how Canadians look. Are you saying there's something wrong with the way Canadians look?
I'm not saying there's something wrong with the way they look. I'm just saying, is that how the show portrays them? I wasn't sure.
I don't understand the question. That's
okay. All right.
They just accurately. I don't know, buddy. You got something to say about Canadians?
I've got nothing to say about them.
This is a sad day for Canada and therefore the world.
Oh, that's sad.
Yes, that's how Canadians are portrayed on the show. I don't know if you noticed, but their cars all have square wheels as well.
Yes.
And I don't know. It was an artistic decision they chose way back in season 1. I don't know why. They just thought it would be funny, I guess.
Well, I respect
Canadians are too nice. Yeah.
Canadians are weird. I respect that they stuck with this for so long, man. I respect that.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, how else are you supposed to tell they're Canadian? Come on, guy. Yeah, I don't know. Like basically you could swap out. So Stan gets addicted. You could swap that out with Kyle or Cartman or Butters or Randy or like literally any other character. The only thing what I do like, I like that it compares it. Like I like the jokes, and they go a little too hard on this. I think they go to it one too many times, where Randy is in denial about his alcoholism, and he talks about his dad's gambling like at slot machines, and his son's gambling or pouring money into these games, and says that they're completely different from him, his booze addiction. I think that they had an interesting point there, and I think that it is true that like a lot of the people that look down on other people for their addictions have addictions. They just don't acknowledge them. Like everyone, to some extent, they explain it in the episode, right? Dopamine. Everyone gets dopamine from certain things. Some people are more susceptible than others. I have addictive tendencies with some things, certainly. But like, I think to some extent everyone does. But there are some people that really get hardcore addicted into things, but yeah, you do find that a lot of people that are lecturing about these sort of things are just kind of in denial.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, though, I didn't have too much to say about this one. Like I said, I agree with the commentary. I agree with the message, what it's trying to say, but it doesn't go any deeper than that. Unfortunately.
This season also had a storyline, not as hardcore as 20, but this was I believe this was the first season where they kind of dipped their toe into it, aside from season 6. And you might not have catched it, but Randy mentioned that he had to write a certain amount of songs to pay for Stan's bill. In this season, Randy Marsh is Lord.
Really?
He is the true person behind the alter ego of Lord.
Huh.
Yeah. I'm honestly surprised they didn't pick the first episode of the season, because it's a pretty funny one. There's a lot of jokes about him just being. I think him being Lord is in the first one. It's also an episode that takes on transgenderism in the bathroom. That whole like debate, non-debate. But yeah, that's going on. There's also Jimmy is like pushing these games, which doesn't. I don't know that entirely makes sense with like there weren't. I mean, there's companies that are selling ads to you about these games, certainly, but there's not like a person going around, right? Like I don't know, were kids like paid to shill these games to other people? I don't think so, unless they're trying to say that we are all advertisement, like the whole Farmville thing, right? Like it pressured you to advertise the game to your friends because you would get rewards for doing so.
Right. I mean, at least. Because I know like mobile gaming was kind of starting to explode when I was in high school. I don't recall that ever really happening. I know most of these games got popular just via word of mouth. One kid would play it, other kids would see it playing it, and then they'd play it, and then it would just kind of spread, and everyone had to be playing the latest mobile game. You know, I don't know that there were necessarily kids being paid to shill it or anything, but...
Right. Well, what I was saying is that ends up coming back later in the season, but I don't think that it necessarily has a good payoff in this episode or even a good analogy to what's being discussed, because he also mentions that he had to pay off the companies by doing this, but it's like unless maybe they're referring to like the Facebook thing where like if you refer two friends you get this or whatever, maybe. So I'm just looking on the Wikipedia page. Trey and Matt liked this episode, the favorite of the season. And on the DVD commentary, they were approached by several companies on the idea of creating a freemium mobile game based on the South Park franchise, but unsure about actually creating the game because they thought these types of games resulted in shamelessly asking for money. So they did a bunch of research, and then that's how the episode was formed. Interesting. Also, according to the Wikipedia page, they say that the game resembles Family Guy: The Quest for Stuff.
Oh, okay.
Which came out in 2014. So
I'll take their word for it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I know there was a Smurfs game that I played in high school that had this same sort of thing, where it was like you collected Smurf berries and you had to wait a certain amount of time, or you could pay money. I want to say I never put money into it. I don't think I ever did. But there was a point at which I was like, why am I playing this? Like, you know, I mean, so.
Yeah, I had my fair share of like playing mobile games back years ago. And, you know, for a time it was entertaining. I think there were some games that were like fun to just play every once in a while. Like Angry Birds was a huge one.
Yeah.
I had a game called Tiny Tower that was fun. Jetpack Joyride, Temple Run, you know.
I like Cut the Rope.
Yeah, Cut the Rope's fun. Yeah, there's some pretty entertaining games. But I tended to avoid
a lot of
Go ahead.
Continue. No. Well, sorry. Tunjay just mentions, and I remember this. I did play this game. South Park did make a freemium game called South Park Phone Destroyer, and it offers in-app purchases because, of course, it does. Yeah. You could buy like different characters. It was like a card-based, I think maybe battler of some sort. It was actually a decently fun game, but of course it pushed the microtransactions.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the thing. And I think going back a few years when this stuff is everywhere now, right? In 2014, there was certainly it had certainly been around for a few years, but I don't think it was as prevalent. I think back then the idea of paying like $1 or $2 for an app where you just had the app, I think that was still relatively like popular. But the thing is that people want things for free, and when you want things for free, you end up dealing with this sort of garbage. And it's like, as an adult, and you know, I recognize that I'm privileged to actually have the money to spend, but as an adult, I would much rather pay like $10, right, for a mobile game. I don't play mobile games, but hypothetically, pay $10 for a mobile game that I could just play indefinitely, that never pressured me, that never wanted any more money, that never did anything. I would rather just do that. And I think Nintendo, when they finally got into the mobile gaming world, they did that sort of thing where if you spent like $20 on Mario Run or whatever that game was, I think they would just say, okay, you just have all the content. Like, you just get it. I think. But then again, I'm a fan of Magic the Gathering, which is basically like all this, but in physical form. So I don't know. Maybe I have no leg to stand on.
Yeah, I'm personally not a fan. I never really played too many of those games that really shove the microtransactions in your face. It's just not worth it to me. It's not enjoyable. I don't play many games on my phone as is. I mostly stick to like consoles and PC, and yeah. I mean, I'm kind of glad that I don't really invest in mobile games much anymore, just because the thing is that sucks is like the temptation to spend the money is already there. I mean, thankfully, I don't. Again, I don't really get pulled in by that sort of thing, but especially when I was playing with other people and there was like a competition to see who could beat the game or who could get further, that the temptation to pay money to get further in the game is definitely there. And I think that that element can also cause, again, more kids to kind of go into it. There's a what's his name? I still have not learned all the South Park kids' names. The one in the blue hat with the red ball on top.
Dan.
Yeah. So he racks up the bill constantly, and his dad's not doing anything about it, which, first of all, bad dad. But yeah, like kids do that all the time, where if their parents just put their card information on their phone, they can just rack up a bill by those microtransactions. And that's definitely something that parents need to keep an eye on and be aware of, because before they know it, their kid's spending, what, $14,000 on a mobile app or something. Yeah, it's absurd.
Yeah. So, this was a real good PSA.
Yeah, I'll give it that.
It definitely hurts knowing that they decided to still go through this. I don't know, maybe just Viacom or whoever signed off on the mobile game and didn't consult them, or maybe they decided to sell out. I don't know. But that definitely makes it more hypocritical. Oh man. All right, we can move on, I think.
All right, then I'm going to go ahead and I need to go for a few minutes, so I'll let you just start with this one and I'll be right back.
All right. I hope he switched the slide over. So the last thing we have to talk about tonight is, of course, always Simpsons. It is The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror 25, or XXV, I suppose. There's 3 segments, as there always is. Segment number 1 is basically Bart finds a portal to Heck, and him and Lisa go to school there. Bart finds out that he's actually a really good student in Heck, and that's the episode. There's not really much of a conflict. It's just Bart's good at being a little devil. The second story is a parody of Clockwork Orange, where Moe, Lenny, Carl, and Homer are the gang, and they beat up a bunch of people and say a bunch of funny words, and it's a parody of A Clockwork Orange. The third story is about the Tracy Ullman version of The Simpsons coming back as ghosts. It's not explained why or how, but they're here as ghosts, and they taunt the regular Simpsons. Old Marge, the other Marge, flirts with Homer, and the present-day Simpsons all murder each other, and then everyone's a ghost. And then a marketing entity decides to make everyone is different characters from different things, like Adventure Time or the Minions. Oh, man. Yeah, so this is the first actual Treehouse of Horror that we'll be talking about on here. We saw we saw Thanksgiving of Horror and Halloween of Horror, but now we're officially onto a Treehouse. And as far as Treehouse of Horrors go, this one, it's okay. It's okay. I think I'd say it's okay. The first segment is actually pretty good. I love the designs of Heck and school. There's some good jokes with Principal Skinner and Superintendent Chalmers are like fused together. They're like some giant demon thing, and Superintendent Chalmers is like, "Skin him," as a threat to Bart, which is pretty good. I like that the portal they come back through when they go back to the real world is at Burns' office, because of course, right? Where else would the portal to Heck be? Yeah, I like it, but it just doesn't have much of a story to it, right? There's not a lot of conflict. Like they end up in Heck, but Heck is not really like that bad a place for Lisa and Bart anyway. The Clockwork Orange parody, I'm gonna be honest with you, never seen Clockwork Orange. I know a little bit about it. The parody didn't make one lick of sense to me. I found it funny, all of the strange words that the characters said in that very Cockney accent. But other than that, I was kind of lost as to what this was about. There's time skips, there's characters talking, and you can hardly really understand what it is. It's I don't know if it's like a really good parody that follows A Clockwork Orange perfectly, right? But even if it is, it's still like a comedic short, and it should probably make more logical sense than a Stanley Kubrick film. Kubrick can get away with being experimental and nonlinear and just bizarre, in a way that I don't think this short really pulled off. Um, and then the third segment, okay, yeah, it's cute that they brought back the Tracy Ullman Simpsons, but like, it's also not really a story. The Simpsons just murder each other randomly. And then they're like, haha, wouldn't it be funny if we got marketed out? And then it's like, yeah, okay. You know, wouldn't it be funny if we, I don't know, if we got the SpongeBob treatment?
Boo.
Ah!
I'm here. that was my contribution to the Halloween Report.
That's not what this episode is. Treehouse of Horror.
Treehouse of Horror. That's right.
Halloween
I'm
of Horror
sorry.
was last week.
Oh, I'm used to the. That's because I saw that before I saw a Treehouse of Horror episode. You're right. Okay.
Yeah. So I ran through what the plot of all three of these were and kind of gave my brief thoughts on all three of them. Would you like to do your brief thoughts on all three of them?
Yeah. Gosh, let's see. Okay.
So they go to Heck. Bart and Lisa go to Heck.
Yeah, I thought that one was mildly amusing. I thought there was some pretty entertaining gags. I think my favorite part was the fact that like Homer was so supportive of Bart for doing it, and then for his like final exam, Bart's like ready to like, torture someone, and his Homer's just like, all right, son, let's go, do it. He's like, Dad, I can't do this. He's like, no, I want you to pass. I love that part. I thought that was very fun. It was simple but amusing.
It had good gags. It had very good. Like I like the Lisa's like, oh, it will be a cold day in Heck when I actually am popular. Yeah. like that was a very well executed joke because it started snowing before she said the line. Like it, well timed.
Yeah, absolutely. The second one, was that the Clockwork Orange one? I think.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Have you seen that movie?
I read the book and I've seen clips of the movie, but I've never seen the movie in full. But I
think everyone's seen clips, and I mean, of course, it's a highly regarded film. I know I should see it at some point or whatever. But yeah. Were you as lost as I was? Or since you read the book, maybe you weren't?
No, I wasn't completely lost because like the book, I mean, very light ties. Obviously, this was very, very brief, but I definitely got the feeling
not brief enough.
I got the whole like dystopian aspect, and like I didn't really remember the characters from the book because I hadn't read it in like 7 or 8 years or something like that. But like the general ideas were there. The whole like eye-opening scene, the fact that they kind of commit all these like heinous acts.
I know there's a lot of violence.
Yeah, absolutely. It's especially the book. The book's like very messed up. I can't speak for the movie, but yeah. I mean, I thought that one was fine. I could definitely see how someone who wasn't familiar with the Clockwork Orange just like wouldn't get any of it at all because
I mean, yeah, it's not like it has a few references. It's just like, is it? I mean, I don't know. It felt to me, if I had to guess, like it's just a crazy abridged just version of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, it probably is, honestly, because I recognize bits and pieces, so it's probably just like taking, the best parts of the film, slapping it all together, and there you go, kind of just homage, parody type thing.
Like, it had a time skip like 30 seconds into it. It's just like, what is this? Like, I don't know. listen, I was amused by all the Bobby Winks and Schmoobledoos and like all the nonsense words. I was like, all right, you know, that makes my dumb lizard brain laugh a little. But like, yeah, I don't know. And here's the thing too. A Clockwork Orange, although it is considered a cinematic masterpiece, classic, all this stuff, modern audiences, I would probably guess less than like, I don't know, less than maybe 10% of the people that watch this have seen A Clockwork Orange.
Yeah, it's definitely a movie from way back. But
yeah, and it's shockingly violent. I know that much too. So it's off-putting to some people. You know, cinematic classic or no, not everyone wants to see horrific violence.
Yeah, 100%. I thought the ending with Stanley Kubrick was pretty amusing, though. I did like that part. But otherwise, I would say that segment was the weakest of the three.
Okay. What did you think of the third segment? Did you understand?
So it took me a minute, but it clicked in my head. I was like, those are the original characters from like way back.
Was Walter Matthau, Homer Simpson.
It was what, the Tracy Ullman show? That was what it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it took me a second, but it registered with me, and then I was like, okay, I see what they're doing here. It reminded me of all things. It reminded me of Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase, where the gang meets their past selves in that movie. And Red Shirt
reminded
Shaggy.
Me of it reminded me of this podcast called The Recast.
Ooh.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that original. It's not as original an idea as you think. There's a Family Guy episode where they go back to the pilot. It's called Back to the Pilot. I've never seen it. But we considered it on the recast for a long time before deciding we didn't want to watch. Well, before I decided I didn't want to watch Family Guy. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Characters meeting their older self. Like, yeah, Scooby-Doo, Cyber Chase was a good example. There's definitely other shows. I'm drawing a blank right now. But, like, and I'm pretty sure The Simpsons have done this, too, in a different Treehouse of Horror. I'm misremembering. But, like, yeah, so okay, so you at least understood it. That's good. Did you understood like what was going on in the episode?
Not really. It was very very chaotic. Strange. Yes.
So like Homer falls in love with the other Marge for no real reason. Like she doesn't nag him, I think is the reason. Like she's more carefree. Right, I think the joke is just kind of like, you know, if he could go back and date a younger Marge, like then that would be more fun, right? When she's not as much of a mom, I think is the idea, but I don't really know. And then our regular Marge gets upset, you know, okay, understandably, but then like it just goes off the rails and they just start murdering each other. It's very weird. And there's other episodes of The Simpsons where they are kind of get murdery with each other. But, like, this one is just so nonchalant. Like, Marge kills herself to become a ghost because she thinks that Homer is into ghosts now. Like, what? And why did the Tracy Ullman characters appear? Like, there's not even, like, oh, well, you know, we went out for frosty chocolate milkshakes and it was made with a machine that was, you know, found in an asteroid that landed to Earth. Like, I don't know. Come up with some. It could be stupid, right? Come up with some sort of thing, like a wizard cursed The Simpsons or something, or I don't know. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it was very, very peculiar. And to go on with that whole, like, killing aspect, like Lisa literally like chokes her brother to death. I was like, that's so messed up. Like she just committed homicide. What's going on? Yeah, I don't know.
It's characters choking each other. It's so funny. What a great joke. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's funny because like in all the commentaries and stuff, like Matt Groening and everyone is always like, ooh, the choking thing. Like, oh well, it's a part of the show. We don't really agree with choking your children, but it's just a funny comedy gag. But like they still do it on the show, and it's just like, what is this? Like, this is just kind of dumb. Like, who laughs at the strangling anymore? Like, really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's probably shock humor, but that only works so many times, you know?
Yeah, it's weird. I think it's weird, and they keep putting it in because they're trying to defend it as, like, a comedic thing. Like, I'm not, like, offended by it. I'm not like, let's ban the episodes where Homer chokes Bart or anything. I just think it's it's at best it's a gag that maybe was once funny but now is like horribly played out. Oh yeah, Willie killed Maggie. I thought that was kind of funny because of how dark it was. Willie's gonna take the children and make a stew.
Yeah.
And
then it just gets so weird at the
yeah,
end, where all those different incarnations of The Simpsons just start rolling in through the door.
And yeah, I mean the joke being that like Fox markets them a lot or something, but like
Yeah.
it doesn't even make sense because it's like, is Fox making like a Simpsons but Minions? Like I don't think that's how it works. Like I guess to be fair, this was around the time they were doing those crossovers with Family Guy and Futurama, but like I don't think it's the same. I mean, maybe it would have been more poignant if like I don't know, the Bob's Burgers cast was there. Like, you know, it was more about the ripoffs of The Simpsons. But they've made that joke before. There's an episode where Homer like clones himself a bunch and Peter Griffin's there, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, one of them is the Tracy Ullman Homer too, which is there you go. I don't know. I mean, like the Tracy Ullman it really, I feel like this whole thing is literally just like, ha, you remember the Tracy Ullman character versions? Weren't they so funny that they're different from our character? And it's just like, oh, okay, but they're not really that different. And this isn't a story. Like, it's not a story. It's just
a scenario. That's all.
Yeah. Like, and the hook of Homer being into other, like, it's just weird. I don't know. It really did not grab me. Oh yeah, but it is funny because there was an Archer version and a South Park version on here. So, yeah.
Yep.
Bob's Burgers not even good enough to be parodied by The Simpsons.
Nope.
Actually, I'm pretty sure Family Guy makes a pretty like mean Bob's Burgers joke in the crossover with The Simpsons.
Oh really?
Like, yeah, like I think they're like, oh, we didn't invite Bob's Burgers because who cares? or something. Oh yeah, that's right. Wait, that reminds me. Marvin Monroe is in this too, who was a character from the early show, and then he got phased out, and then they made jokes about him being dead, but then they made jokes about how he wasn't actually dead. But then in this he's a ghost, so I guess he was actually dead. I don't know. No one likes Marvin Monroe. His character design is weird. It looks like a comic strip character, and his voice made the voice actor like not happy. So.
Okay.
Maggie was a Canadian. Nice, just like Ike. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, overall, I thought this was fairly entertaining, but like kind of in a dumb way. Like the first segment was the best, but even the first segment didn't have much in the way of like conflict or like story. It was really just all three of these feel like a scenario, right? Like, what if Bart went to school in Heck? Oh, okay, he's a good student. Cool. Like, what if The Simpsons was a Clockwork Orange? It's like, okay, well, they did a bunch of the violent stuff. There's the dumb, nonsense English words that don't make any sense, and that's really it. Like, that's that segment. And then the third one's just like, what if the Tracy Ullman characters came back as ghosts? Well, I guess they'd make the Simpsons kill themselves. I don't know. Like, that's not a story. According to a deleted scene, the old Simpsons were buried under the house. Well, there you go. At least that's something, right? I mean, goodness. Why were they ghosts too? Like, really, they could have just been characters that showed up at the door. The fact that they were ghosts didn't even like. I don't know. Was that imply that the original they died? Like, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I would guess that's the implication. If we see the main characters die and they become ghosts, I guess that's.
I guess because their show died. I don't know.
Yeah.
They should have had Tracy Ullman show up. I have no idea who Tracy Ullman is. I just know that her show is what spawned The Simpsons.
Yep.
That's it. That's it. No one has anything to say about that show ever except, did you know The Simpsons started on that show?
That's as far as it goes.
Yeah. All right. Well, everyone, just as a reminder, go in the description and vote for what you think of these episodes is the most deserving of an award, and whatever wins, we will award the Award Show Audit Award. So please do that. I think we're ready to move on. I guess just my last thing is, like, I'm glad Adventure Time got on there. I'm glad Adventure Time was culturally relevant enough. I mean, of course, they did the Adventure Time crossover intro, which I don't know if that happened before or after this. I like the fact that Maggie and Lisa have Fiona's headgear, which is the female version of Finn, which is like that makes sense. That's a little bit of deep lore in there. They did their research. No, but yeah. All right.
Awesome.
So should we announce what won the Emmy?
Yep, we can go ahead and do that. So, of the 5 nominees that we just discussed, the winner was none other than Over the Garden Wall. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
much deserved.
Amazing. I mean, I don't think it's a surprise. Both of us agree that that's what should have won, and that's what did win. That's the best thing on here. Hands down, and this is the first year that our pick actually won.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's the first time I agree with the results.
yes. I want to talk about that a little bit because, like, what do you think happened here? Like, so far, I would have to say that a lot of what has won, or what at least what has been made it to the final round of nominations here, felt to me like the people were asleep at the wheel. Like there were some other things going on other than just the quality of the episodes. But this time I can't. The only thing I could think of, if they didn't watch it or whatever, is that maybe they saw the voice cast and were like, "Ooh, Elijah Wood, like, ooh, this must be something," right? Like maybe, but my guess is honestly maybe a bunch of people watched this. I don't know.
Yeah,
I hope they watched it. They should.
Hope so. That's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. You make a good point, because the voice cast was the only thing that really sprung to my mind. I mean, unless they saw just some still images and thought, "Ooh, that looks really pretty," and they picked it because of that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, who knows? Maybe they did pick it because it just looked artsy without watching it. I don't know.
Maybe.
Either way, it is artsy. So I mean,
yeah. No, this definitely restores like a little bit of my faith, right? In terms of, yeah, there's not an obvious reason why this would have won unless they watched it and enjoyed it. You know, Pat McHale is not like some giant figure that everyone knows. You know what I mean? Like he was in some successful stuff before this, and he went on to some successful stuff after this, but he's not. It's not like, you know, The Simpsons won, right? Because everyone knows The Simpsons, or even South Park has that reputation too. This is just like a one and done thing, and yeah. So, however it happened, it deserved it. Again, I don't know what happened, if Cartoon Network accidentally sent in like all the episodes instead of just one, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, this must be one thing. This must be the movie. It's more than a half hour, so we're doing it." I don't know, but which is interesting too, because if it was sent in like as a movie, I don't think it makes sense as a movie. It's a mini series. It's clearly a mini series. Okay. Yeah, the Emmys have over 20,000 voting members. Actually, I believe it was 22,000.
Yeah.
So yeah. So as we mentioned, this was our fave. I don't think it's a surprise. How would you rank them?
Let's see, from best to worst, I would go with Over the Garden Wall, and then I get. See, it's tough from there. Like the number one pick's obvious.
I can go with mine. I would say Over the Garden Wall best, obviously. And then I would probably put Freemium Isn't Free second. Again, it wasn't my favorite episode, but I do think that it is very culturally significant. I didn't hate watching it either. Like, just because I didn't think it was much of a story, it was still a relatively entertaining lecture. It was a lecture. Then I would put The Simpsons. You know, nothing at all deep in these episodes. Nothing really award worthy other than the animation. The CG animation was really dang good at the end. But even that is just a few seconds. So, but even still, I thought it was a pleasant watch. Then I'd put Pocket Listing. It just didn't gel with me, and I don't see anything really special about that episode of Archer. And then Bob's Burgers in last place. Again, not like a terrible episode. Just about, you know, average Bob's Burgers.
I think I'd have the same ranking, but I think I might actually switch South Park and Simpsons, and the only reason I'm really doing that is because just in terms of like, sure, the second and third segments weren't like super great, and they, yeah, as we described, they were all scenarios, but I think there was still like a fun silliness, and the animation like aspect of it kind of allowed that to thrive a little bit more. I liked all the different designs at the end of the third one, and seeing the Simpsons kind of interact with themselves has some fun moments. Whereas like the South Park episode, while I agree with what it's saying in terms of it being, nominated for like the animated category, I don't know. It just I would pick the Simpsons based on the animation aspect rather than the South Park episode, because that one felt like more, it was just like, here's a message we want to preach, and everything else was an afterthought. But whereas the Simpsons was like, let's put the characters in these fun situations and come up with some ideas on what they could do. I don't know. I just felt like there was a little bit more on the creative aspect of that. But otherwise, my ranking's probably the exact same.
Okay. So Shadow,
mm-hmm.
do you have an episode this week?
So I did manage
to nominate.
I did. So I double checked this just to be sure that it would be okay.
Shadow, that's 11 minutes.
No, I
don't know what you're gonna say, but I'm just gonna assume that it's wrong for some reason.
Oh well, I double checked this to make sure, because I wanted to be certain. In fact, now you're making me second guess myself, and now I got to double check again.
Good.
To be absolutely okay. And Wikipedia does not want to cooperate.
Okay, so my pick.
Go ahead and say yours. I need to verify this again.
I did my homework. So I'm not gonna pick BoJack, although if I were, it would probably be the downer ending, the second to last episode of the first season. But instead, I'll actually pick Gravity Falls, which a decent chunk of the second season falls under this time frame. And yeah, I could go with Not What He Seems, but I think that episode is maybe a little heavy on kind of being a two-parter and being connected to like the mythos of the series. I'm gonna go with Into the Bunker, which is, I believe, my favorite episode of Gravity Falls, except for A Tale of Two Stands, of course. I think Into the Bunker is a very fun episode. It does a lot of things like just very well. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that it's groundbreaking in a ton of ways. I think the way they handled Dipper's crush on Wendy was very very good. I think that the location is very fun. I think that the adventure is just like a cool shapeshifter adventure. I think it's just kind of like some of the best that Gravity Falls has to offer. I think it's just a fantastic episode. And it's got some foreshadowing and it really felt like the characters were getting closer to unraveling the mystery. So yeah, that's what I got.
All right. So yeah. My pick is also a two-parter. Technically, they're named different episodes, but they are two parts of the same story. So I'm going to say that's okay. I'm going to go with Steven Universe, The Return, and Jailbreak. Go figure.
There you go.
Right?
Nice.
Yeah. Kind of the obvious Steven Universe pick, but let's be honest, it is what got Steven Universe on the map. It's the pairing that blew up the entire fandom. Everyone, as soon as these episodes came out.
It's what made me notice it.
Exactly. Like, everyone was talking about it. Ironically enough, though, I watched like the first 10 episodes, didn't get into it, and then missed this whole explosion, came back in during like season 3, I think. But yeah, no, like both parts, I think it's really, really exciting. The whole Ruby Sapphire storyline's like huge. One of like the most pivotal moments of Garnet's character, and it's what made Garnet my favorite crystal gem.
Yeah,
I absolutely,
that amazing reveal.
Absolutely,
yeah.
It's stellar. It just, gosh, I don't want to say too much because I could go on all day, but
right,
yeah, it's definitely the like Steven Universe introduction.
Yeah. I mean, and that song, Made of Love, is...
Oh, absolutely.
As far as I'm concerned, that is the Steven Universe song. You know what I mean? Like that... I would guess that song has the most views on YouTube of any of the Steven Universe songs. Maybe something from Mr. Greg. I don't know. Maybe that could topple it. But, like, at least for a long while, like this was the Steven Universe song. This was what you thought of when you thought of the show. It was the best fight scene for a very long time in the show.
The action's fantastic.
And it breaks from the Steven perspective for a little bit, which is probably what makes it good.
Yeah.
And that it's something that's not about Steven for 5 seconds.
And I'm gonna be honest, even though Made of Love is a great song, I actually like Stronger Than You more, personally.
Really?
Yeah, I really like the Stronger Than You song. I really do. It's a great song that Garnet gets to sing while that fight scene's going on, and I think it just adds to the whole atmosphere of it even more. But yeah.
Wait a minute, I think that might be the song I'm thinking of. Yeah, that's the song I'm thinking of.
Oh,
Isn't that the same song? Wait, hang on.
No, the Made of Love song plays at a different part, I believe. Or no, it is the same song.
It's the same song. What are you talking about?
Same song.
Yeah, why did you confuse me?
I don't know.
Like you're describing it like it's something different, and I'm like, what? It is. You know what? You're right. The name of the song is Stronger Than You.
That's
it's
why
my
I was
fault for
confused,
misnaming the
I
song.
thought you were talking about something else, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, I know. Listen, I'm a normie who calls songs by their hook. I know. I should learn what the songs are.
Okay.
I'm waiting for the chat to call us idiots.
We'll both take the L on that one.
I am made of stupid.
Yes, you're right.
maybe if we fused, we could be two halves of a whole idiot. What are y'all talking about? Yeah. Sorry for the confusion, guys. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah, but that was a great choice. I didn't even think of that, to be honest. But no, that definitely fantastic choice. Someone else also mentioned Legend of Korra, which was airing at this time, and Venom of the Red Lotus is a pretty good episode. Maybe I'll pick Korra next week, depending on what season was airing at that time. Probably maybe season 2, so maybe not. But yeah, we're officially out of BoJack territory, so I gotta come up with some new hits.
I'm trying to make it a goal to pick a different show every year. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to do that before I end up repeating something, but I am trying my best to make sure I don't pick the same show twice.
But there's not that many half-hour cartoons.
I know, that's the thing. Honest. The further back we go, the harder it's going to get.
Yeah, because it's a lot of the same stuff. But if you go back to a certain point, okay, at some point they considered like A and B stories that were lumped together in a half hour, like SpongeBob had, what was it, like New Student Starfish and Clams, I think. I don't know, one other episode. Like that was considered a half hour program, which it boggles the mind, but maybe when we go back to the 2000s, we can start classifying just a good half hour. Like, oh, these two Ed and Eddie episodes that were paired together, should have gotten the Emmy.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to go ahead and announce the results?
All right. I haven't looked at this at all. I'm going to refresh the page. It's going to be Over the Garden Wall. Come on. I know my audience.
I'm assuming that's the answer, so I already have the picture queued up, but in the off chance that it's not.
What do you think is going to be second? I'm going to guess Free Me Isn't Free.
I feel like you're right.
All right. Let's go. All right. Refreshing.
Okay.
And with a whopping 70% of 363 votes, we have Over the Garden Wall as the winner of the 2015 Award Show Audit Award.
Yep.
Woo! In second, we have Freemium Isn't Free with 16%. In third, we have Treehouse of Horror 25. In fourth, we have Can't Buy Me Math. And dead last, it's Archer. I feel like not a lot of my subscribers watch Archer.
Yeah.
I think Archer has consistently come in last every time that it's been nominated. So, yeah. Can't blame you guys. It's a very specific show with a very specific sense of humor, and it's not everyone's cup of tea. I'm coming to learn that it might not be my cup of tea either, unfortunately. All right. Well, would you like to announce next week's nominees?
Absolutely. All right. Ooh, voice crack. All right. So next.
Absolutely.
Oh boy, guys. All right. Enough of that. So next week is the 2014 Emmy nominees. So first off, we've got Bob's Burgers with Mazeltina.
Mazeltina.
Mazeltina. You're right. That is Mazel, not Mazel.
Yeah, put some respect.
Sorry, the hyphen made me think
Mazel tov, but with Tina.
Haha, I get it. Let's see. We also have Archer again with Archer Vice: The Rules of Extraction. South Park: Black Friday.
Ooh. That's a trilogy.
Really?
We're all three nominated? Is it just
it just listed Black Friday, so I don't know if that's all three combined or if that's one of three episodes.
Oh wait, hang on. I'm looking on the Wikipedia page. Nope, it's just the 7th episode. Okay, so it's the first part of the 3-parter.
Okay.
Because the rules don't matter. So sometimes you get a 1 part, sometimes you get all 3 in movie form nominated. Sometimes you get a whole miniseries nominated. I don't know. But it's just the episode Black Friday, not the Black Friday trilogy, apparently.
Gotcha. Let's see. We also have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the 2012 Nickelodeon series, The Manhattan Project, which I believe is part of a 2-parter, but the second part was not nominated, just the first part. Correct me if I'm wrong. But when I was looking it over, I believe that was the case.
Yeah, I mean, it just says The Manhattan Project.
Yeah, the second half was like worm something, but yeah. And then last but not least, not The Simpsons for once. This is the first time that this has happened.
Yeah.
Instead, we get the other Matt Groening show, Futurama, meanwhile.
Well, meanwhile is the name of the episode, just to be clear.
Yes.
So don't worry if you like Matt Groening-esque comedy, because it will not leave. Don't worry.
It's not going.
But yes, this is the first and only year that the Simpsons was not nominated, or at least didn't make it to final round of nominations.
Correct.
I don't know. We'll discuss that. In the future.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Just as an aside, I know we've been talking a lot about Archer, South Park, Simpsons, and Bob's Burgers. I wish it was more varied than that, but the rules are the rules. We got to talk about what was nominated, and fortunately, we're reaching an end to Bob's Burgers. We're reaching an end to Archer being nominated. South Park's going to continue, but we're reaching into that, and we're reaching an end to the rule where only one kids show gets nominated. So, I promise you guys, starting with next week, things are going to get a lot more spicy. Very excited to talk about Futurama. I've actually just been rewatching the whole series. I got a lot of opinions on it, and there are some pretty phenomenal episodes that were nominated, gotta say. So, and that's the Futurama finale, by the way. That's the entire series finale, the real one, not the other times when they did series finales and the show came back. This is the real one. So just so you know, there will be. Actually, I don't even know if it really contains that many spoilers for the series, to be honest. Yeah. Okay. So thank you guys for joining us. Sorry this week's show had some hiccups. Like I said, it's just kind of been a crazy week for me. But yeah, thank you guys for being here.
Yep, absolutely. I'll be looking forward to next week. I really can't wait. I'm excited for these nominees. So yeah, should be a good time.
All right. PIEGUYRULZ out.
Bye.